Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of SPINcast. Here I have Collin Tucker with me from York University, but I'll let him introduce himself and his program, and then we'll get started.
Hey, I'm Collin Tucker, head coach at York University. We've had a program for about 2 years now, and we're going strong. We compete through the KCAC, NACE, NECC. We're constantly trying to add new students and compete in as many different games as possible. Right now, our main games are Rocket League, Smash Brothers, Overwatch, League of Legends, and then some individual titles that come out here and there.
Awesome. Well, to kind of get diving into your program a little bit, is your program currently a more varsity-oriented club or kind of a mix?
We're a full varsity program. We do most of our players are on scholarship, and they've been recruited just for esports. But we have also some other walk-on students who have joined our program from either other athletic programs, or they just kind of do it in their free time. But most students are compete at the varsity level.
Gotcha. Cool. And you guys, you mentioned you're under athletics?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. About how many current players or teams do you have within the program?
Yeah, we're about 24 players total across all titles.
What games are you recruiting for? I know you mentioned some of the games that you guys currently have. Is there any others that you're currently recruiting for as well?
Yeah, so the main games: League of Legends, Rocket League, Overwatch, Smash Brothers. Those are our four main titles right now. And then we have a lot of individual games where we have small competition: Hearthstone, chess, Madden, FIFA. Looking to add 2K in the future, and then possibly, depending on how some different competitions roll out, adding mobile titles such as Clash Royale, Legends of Runeterra, things like that.
What kind of goes into your decision to add certain games or things like that? Is it kind of based on what your conference competes in, or what kind of goes into that?
Yeah, so for our traditional athletic conference where we compete for our traditional athletics, we mostly just stick to the three main: League of Legends, Rocket League, and Overwatch. And then through NACE or NECC or ESL, we compete through these other titles. So when I'm looking to add titles, basically what I do when I'm talking to recruits, when I go to recruiting events or high schools, I kind of ask them what they're interested in, because the esports landscape is constantly changing. And if I can recruit players for it and I can find regular college level competition for it, then I'll add a title.
Sounds easy enough there. Cool. Do you guys currently offer esports scholarships as well?
Yes. Yep. Everybody who's recruited for our program gets a scholarship at some point. And I kind of what I do for that is I use in-game rank. I think that's a pretty good baseline indicator. But I also like students to have competition experience. And usually I found that if students have competition experience at the high school level or through amateur tournaments on the side with their friends or teammates or anything like that, it really gives them a competitive edge when they come to college, because the competition level steps up pretty massively, especially in our conference. So having students who are prepared and understand how to prep themselves mentally beforehand always gives them a really competitive edge coming into their freshman year at college.
Gotcha. Awesome. What are kind of, you mentioned some of the skills you look for in terms of competitive experience and things like that. Any traits that you look for as well with recruiting?
Yeah, a lot of times I'd like to see, for team-based games, I like to have hold tryouts where I can actually listen into communication and kind of game sense. And I'll watch back on replays and stuff if a student can provide them. But we just hosted a couple weeks ago. We just hosted a big Rocket League tryout night. We're hosting another one in a couple weeks. And so usually I have my current players hop in to listen to communications, play some games, and kind of just get understanding of game sense. Because rank is it's a rough estimate, but a lot of times we can find out how well a student's actually playing, their communication, and how well they can take losses and how well they can take wins. So if they can play consistently, not get too arrogant, but also not get too timid as well. Just finding a nice mix and balance when they play with people they haven't really played before is a really good test of character to see how someone can perform under pressure with players of higher rank than them, or even if they have lower rank and they kind of have to carry the team and kind of adapt their play style.
Yeah. I mean, when I talk to players too, one of the things I always mention is, as you probably get to, a common question is does rank matter? How much does rank matter? Stuff like that. And it's you hand a coach a piece of paper and it has your rank on it. It's always gonna be oh, he's immortal, or oh, he's grandmaster, master, whatever. It's okay, pretty good. But like you said, once you dive into competitive experience, what's their communication look like? It's that's when you expand upon it, where you could have a diamond level Overwatch player who's better, or who you want over a master's level player if they have other skills that they bring to the table instead of just like really high accuracy or really high game sense or something. So yeah, that makes sense. And that's kind of what I tell players too, is like, you hand them the rank and it's like, that's the baseline. Like you said, oh, okay, he probably has X, Y, and Z, or she has X, Y, and Z. But it's like, what other things do they bring to the table to add to that?
Yeah, and attitude really, really plays a big point for me. I try and
Yep.
visit during tryouts that we bring on, which are mostly remote, or when I travel to high school events or things like that. I try to watch attitude and stuff, just to kind of see leadership and character qualities. It's really hard, but sometimes I have to turn away a player who's very highly skilled, and they could be a great asset to our team, maybe getting a winning record, but the chemistry just isn't there, and they don't really have the right attitude that I would like to have as part of my program. And so I can say that's probably only about 15% of players that I talk to and meet with, but for the most part, it's students who are like they're humble, they're competent, but they really want to grow, and they're willing to take criticism and stuff. So
Gotcha. No, those are definitely all very important things when recruiting, obviously. So kind of off of that, you mentioned traveling to events and things like that. Do you guys currently host any events, camps, anything like that?
yeah, so right now we host for the Nebraska State High School Esports League. We host a state tournament. They have 3 different seasons: fall, winter, and spring. So we host one of those every year. So we hosted the spring one last April. We're hosting the winter one this February. And then I'm also looking to add camps during the summer, just to kind of get build the local scene within a couple, like about 100-mile radius or so around York, just to bring in kids who maybe either learning a new game or really fine-tuning skills, and bringing in either some of my high-level players who have a really good coaching mentality, or bringing in pro players or amateur players or anything like that, who can kind of give that good experience and also teach some of these harder to learn games like League of Legends or Overwatch, which is a lot about game sense, not just skill. And it really takes some high level analysis to kind of get really skilled at these games.
Well, that's really cool stuff happening there. Then what does your current like facility or space look like?
Yeah, so we have a dedicated esports room that's just for the esports team. They actually built it when they decided to add an esports program at the school, which is really, really nice. So that's where we hold all of our practices, competitions, everything like that. And we have the nice thing is we actually have a TV mounted on the outside of the wall, so other students can come and support and watch without being in the space itself. So it's really cool that we can have that feature, so we can get a lot of support from campus while we still have the capabilities of being in a more contained room. So that's also where we hold our streaming and everything. And it's really nice to be able to have multiple practices going on at once if needed, but people can just kind of hang out there all day when we're not having practice as well.
Kind of off of the recruiting aspect as well, do you guys look for any students that can support you guys in non-player roles, things like broadcasting, production, social media, things like that?
Yeah, I try and find those players. Right now, the players who do that for me are also compete, and so sometimes they compete in one game and they help me with broadcasting or things on the other side. So I still have scholarships open for those, specifically for social media and video editing, to try and put some player highlights and everything together to kind of promote how well our team is doing or how well players are doing. So I haven't been able to fill those roles yet, but yeah, we have those spots open, and I'm looking for them.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely something like a growing role or thing that a lot of coaches are looking for across the space. So makes a lot of sense there. And I assume then that's probably something that if you are recruiting a player and then he says or she says, also potentially would like to help you guys with social media, that's probably something that also will stand out to you when talking to that player. So yeah, awesome. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you face within your program so far?
Probably the hardest part for me, it's me and an assistant coach, and as our team has been growing, it's just the time dedication, because I want to be able to give every player and every team as much time and focus as I can, while also recruiting and growing the program as much as possible. And the nice thing about that is I have players who have a good mentality and good attitude, and they want to help each other, and so they're willing to grow and learn as much as possible, and they're willing to take practices when we can get them and when we can get them scheduled, but also practice on their own. So it's kind of a good and a bad, it kind of wears me out, but I love it. So
yeah, no, I get that for sure. But that's like you said, it's good that you guys have been able to grow so much. Just kind of feeling that over time just becomes, as it grows, it'll keep having to expand and things like that. And the reverse of that, what would you say is kind of the most proud or biggest achievement within your program?
Probably the growth of individual players or as a team.
Mm-hmm.
For us, for example, we're in the KCAC, which actually has two top 10 teams in CRL right now, Ottawa and Columbia College. So the Rocket League skill level is extremely, extremely high. So it really tests our players' strengths and skills. So just being able to see our team grow from August last year all the way through April of 2022, where they actually ended up placing fourth in conference, was not something we necessarily expected at the beginning of the year, just how everybody was playing, but they kept practicing, they kept growing, and everything like that. And then we also had a Smash player last year who had really only been playing for about 6 months, but he became really passionate about the program, started practicing a lot on his own, just training and reviewing as much as possible. And just the amount of growth that he had over the course of 8 months is really just really incredible. And it's just, I'm just proud to have these players on my team who are really dedicated to representing York and also just growing as individuals as much as possible.
Yeah, no, that's a great point too, because like you said, you can only do so much as you'd like to be with every single player 24 hours every single day. That's obviously impossible. So you do need players to be able to commit to time on their own too, because whether it's in esports, even like traditional sports too, a football player, no matter how big their coaching staff is, even the coach can't be with them all the time, right? So it also depends on what they do on their own, and that's really awesome to see. Player come in, brand new player, and he's performed really well. And that's kind of what collegiate can provide too, is a very stable environment with a coach like you on hand, but also the ability to succeed by themselves.
Yeah.
That's awesome there. Kind of wrapping it up here as well. If you could give any piece of advice to any recruiter student watching, what would it be?
I would say enter into as many different competitions as possible, either with friends, random teammates, whatever you can find, even if it's like locally where you can actually go to LAN events, if they're being sponsored in your area. I think it really I think it gives a different perspective than just competing online at school or anything like that. And it really will stand out that your competitive knowledge and how to mentally prepare for a match, just as much as you'd have to mechanically prepare or review notes on character selection or anything like that. Just being able to mentally prepare for a competition really puts you above the crowd more than you might know. But also be always have a positive attitude in learning to take criticism well. That's something that you'll get from your teammates. That's something you'll get from coaches. And that's something that if you go into any sort of private coaching session, they're going to critique you very, very hard, but it's also going to be a very great opportunity for you to grow. And being able to put yourself out there on sites like Stay Plugged In or other recruiting sites out there and having good videos, good evidence of how well you play and how much you want to succeed really makes you stand out. When I'm filtering through thousands of different recruits, the ones who are sticking out are the ones who are succeeding in the game, they're succeeding in the classroom, they're leaders in their community, and more than anything, they show an initiative and a drive to become the best person that they can be. Yep,
exactly. Whether it's going to camps on your campus, playing in different events online across country, not across country, but in different LAN events, things like that. Like you said, using different recruiting websites or anything like that, the more you can do, it's basically the more opportunity you have to make connections and kind of expand your network of coaches that, potentially could be interested in you. Because if you talk to 5 coaches compared to 50, obviously you're going to more likely have more opportunities when you talk to 50 compared to 5. So awesome stuff. I appreciate the time and you coming on, Collin, to kind of go over your program and everything cool that you have brewing at York University. But to hand it back to you one last time, for any parents or players watching, if they want to learn more about your program, where could they go?
So you can kind of check out our highlights and everything. We have a Twitch channel, just York Panther Esports, and our Twitter kind of keeps updates of what our schedule looks like and what matches are coming up, just York Panther Esports as well. Or actually YU Panther Esports for the Twitter handle. But my Discord is pretty much publicly available. So parents and students can message me at any time to kind of see what we offer, what their skill ranking is, kind of how they would place on our team, and if they're prepared for college. I'm willing to have those conversations all the time. So those would probably be the easiest places to reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, again, appreciate the time, Collin, and excited to see kind of how you guys finish out the semester and going into the spring. And thanks again for everyone watching, and best of luck finishing out the semester.